Hello, my name is Henry Keane. This is News Pulse at UATV. Welcome to the daily segment. Today in the episode, fire breaks out near power plants in Russia's Lipetsk after explosions. Russia completely suspends federal bonds auction. China plummets Gazprom shares to a historical low. You just had your Russia Today news segment. See more in the episode and suit yourself. Ukraine is not being idle, relying on partners and allies alone. We are developing our own ballistics. Learn what is new and what's to expect in our latest story for you. Fire breaks out right near Lipetsk power plant in Russia. Also, Lipetsk steel plant was targeted. It is the largest steel mill in Russia, producing approximately 20% of all Russian steel. It produces civilian products, yes, while its steel is purchased by companies producing missiles, amongst other things, which makes it a legit military target. At the same time, Lipetsk thermal plant is one of the largest in the central region, providing heat to the city of Lipetsk and several industrial enterprises in the region. The Security Service of Ukraine has carried out a strike on a coordination and deployment site used by Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, in the temporarily occupied part of Kherson Oblast. According to preliminary estimates, around 100 military personnel may have been present at the location at the moment. Ukrainian intelligence also confirmed that more than 70 vehicles were at the site, armed guards were on duty, checkpoints were in operation, and military engineering obstacles and underground shelters have been installed. The Security Service of Ukraine stated that such special military operations disrupt the command and coordination system of the Russian army. The fire breaks out in an industrial park on the outskirts of Saint Petersburg. According to Russian emergency services, the fire engulfed a warehouse and a production building. The blaze has spread across an area of approximately 6,000 square meters. It is, or was, a home of the Ladaga Industrial Park, where polymer materials are manufactured, and the industrial park caught fire not too long, actually, after Russians burned down building shopping mall in Ukrainian Sumy, which had absolutely nothing to do with the military whatsoever. Now, outskirts of St. Petersburg are in fire. Karma, I guess. From time to time, I hear those voices, and not only from Russia, by the way. Oh my God, why to hit warehouses in Russia and delivery services? It is not legit military target. Or another version of this same question, also from my native Latvia, by the way. What is a military perspective of this hits and targeting? What's the point? So here is a short breakdown for you. A part of medical and other internationally recognized facilities and locations, the rest of Mother Russia is a legit military target. As simple as that. The Kremlin did that. Putin, personally. Vladimir Putin turned wild berries into legit military target 4.5 years ago, when he started his unprovoked act of military aggression against Ukraine. This is why it is legit to burn all the warehouses anywhere in Russia to ashes, and that's only for starters. Now, what's to the military perspective to it? OSINT researcher Chris O'Vicky confirms in figures and easy-to-prove data, by the way, that strikes on Wildberry's logistical hub will have far worse consequences for the Russian economy than just the loss of $1.2 billion of goods recently claimed by the company. Wildberries account for as much as 45% of the Russian online shopping market, and together with their closest competitor, Ozon, it comes to staggering 77%. So, wild berries have long been used by Russian volunteers to transport drones, spare parts, night vision equipment, generators, camouflage clothing, tactical footwear, you name it. That is why it was definitely worth the drone, as these strikes on wild berries not only worsen the quality of life of citizens of the Russian Federation in general, but also directly affect the effectiveness of the Russian military in particular. That is why the wild berries of the Russian criminal aggression against Ukraine are burning. And more to come for sure, whoever, wherever, thinks whatever. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The Ministry of Finance of the Russian Federation announced the suspension of federal loan bonds auctions. Federal loan bond, or FLB, are considered the safest types of securities. Well, no more security for those anymore, not in Russia at least. The Ministry of Finance of Russian Federation announced it's suspending federal loan bonds auction to, we quote, stabilize the market situation. The ministry promised to announce the resumption of the auctions later. It is a sign of times indeed, as the latest time the Ministry of Finance suspended issuance of all the securities until stabilization. They say that was in March 2022 due to panic following the onset of the pandemic. Now, to stabilize the market situation, Russia probably has to remove its occupying army from Ukraine or to lose the war, whichever comes first. Was it the hit at warehouses in Wildberries or federal loan in Russia abruptly suspended? The great Chinese dragon, anyway, decided that it might be a good moment to hit its best friend, the Russian bear, and hit it hard. Against the backdrop of China's firm and final refusal to cooperate with Russia in the construction of the oil pipeline, shares of the Russian Gazprom as of July 16 plummeted to its lowest level in the history of trading, falling to barely 84 rubles per share. It is below the low recording during the 2008 global financial crisis, when the company's shares were trading at 84 rubles. Later, the price partially recovered. It is losses to around 85 and 5 rubles, but remained well in the red, of course. At the same time, the Moscow Exchange Index fell 3.4% to 2,040 points. Its lowest level since October 2022. Most liquid Russian stocks fell to 8%. So much for the big and beautiful Russian-Chinese friendship, I guess. Air raid sirens sounded across all Poland. No, it's not real air threat yet. At least it's a large-scale exercises to test public warning systems going under codename Alarm 2026. The goal is to test the readiness of military and civilian warning systems and identify potential deficiencies in emergency response services. Ukrainian unmanned forces struck as much as 183 vessels of Russia's shadow fleet. 119 Russian ships were hit in the Sea of Azov and 64 more in the Black Sea. Ukrainian drones also damaged 103 energy facilities in temporarily occupied peninsula of Crimea, as well as 25 air defense elements of the aggressor country. More about Ukrainian weaponry that enables such results in our story for you.
Ukraine has unveiled another step forward in its domestic missile program. Dennis Steilerman, chief designer and co-owner of the defense company Firepoint, announced the launch of a new Ukrainian missile. The company gained international attention after unveiling its Flamingo cruise missile in early 2025. According to The Atlantic, Firepoint is now capable of producing around 90 missiles per month. The Flamingo weighs 6 tons, carries a 1-ton warhead, has a maximum speed of 950 kilometers per hour and a range of 3,000 kilometers.
Fired from the back of a truck, the weapon reaches roughly twice as far as its American counterpart, the Tomahawk, and carries a much larger payload. It also costs about half as much to produce, in part because Flamingos use jet engines repurposed from old Soviet airplanes, from a report by The Atlantic.
Ukraine is also working with European partners on the Freya project, an air and missile defense system intended as a European alternative to the US-made Patriot. The project aims to create an integrated European ballistic missile defense shield. According to preliminary plans, the system will include the FP7X interceptor missile, a mobile launcher, long-range surveillance radars, fire control radars, a command and control center, and a Link 16 communications network. The first live interception test of the FP7X missile against a ballistic target is scheduled for July 2027.
We believe that protecting Europe requires a comprehensive solution in the form of an integrated missile defense architecture designed to deter and counter future missile threats, built on collective effort, technological openness, and reliable industrial cooperation. From the joint declaration of the leaders of Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom on establishing an integrated ballistic missile defense coalition on the website of the President of Ukraine.
Ukraine has already demonstrated the effectiveness of its domestically developed missiles. In April 2022, the Neptune anti-ship cruise missile sank the Russian Black Sea Fleet flagship, the cruiser Moskva. Since then, the missile has undergone significant modernization. The latest version, known as the Long Neptune, has an operational range of 1,000 kilometers and carries a 260-kilogram warhead.
This is exactly what today's battlefield requires. Russia must face strikes that it cannot effectively defend against. This is a capability Ukraine has clearly needed. Regardless of how different people envision the future of this war, such weapons are essential, even if only to compel Russia to move toward peace.
Ukrainian drones have given the country's defense forces not only an advantage on the battlefield, but also the ability to strike military and strategic targets deep inside Russia. At the same time, Ukraine has become a pioneer in several technological fields, particularly interceptor drones. Among the best-known systems are the Sting, P-1-SUN, General Chereshnya, and Octopus. Their capabilities are broadly similar, with an operational control range of 20 to 30 kilometers and a maximum altitude of 5,000 to 7,000 meters. Ukraine has also fundamentally transformed the role of unmanned surface vessels. Originally designed primarily for civilian purposes, maritime drones have been adapted into highly effective naval strike platforms. The most widely known systems are the Magara and Sea Baby drones, which can be operated at distances of up to 1,000 kilometers while carrying warheads weighing around 200 kilograms.
Drones have fundamentally changed the nature of warfare. Previously, military planning focused on ballistic and cruise missiles. Today, comparatively inexpensive drones, which can be mass-produced and deployed in large numbers, have forced militaries to rethink air defense entirely. It makes little economic sense to use interceptor missiles costing around $2 million to shoot down drones worth roughly $50,000.
Ukraine's drone technologies have attracted growing international interest, particularly following the escalation of conflicts in the Middle East and the widespread use of Iranian-made drones. In March 2026, President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Qatar. During the tour, Ukraine signed a number of defense partnership agreements with countries across the Persian Gulf, reported by Andriy Dimitrenko, UATV News.
Well, that seems to be it, at least for today. I'm Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for being with us, for watching the segment. We appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Please also share, comment, subscribe to UATV. We got you covered on whatever tomorrow holds. For all of us, we promise, but always, we also promise, in Ukrainian perspective. Of course, stay safe and see you tomorrow.